Hi, everybody, and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is Gunther. Nah, I'm just kidding. My name is George Coles, and on this episode, we're going to do a top 10. The topic of the top 10: surprise Royal Rumble entrants for the 2022 Royal Rumble. Now, at the time of this recording, we're about a week away from the Rumble, so some of these have rumors to be there, some of them don't. We're going to do this a little bit differently. It's actually going to be two separate, it's not actually going to be a top 10, but two top 5s. If you've seen my Owen Hart Cup one, I separate it where there's 5 guys and 5 girls. So we'll have a top 5 of each, but they're going to intertwine 5 and 5, 4 and 4. So it'll add up to 10, but it's actually two different top 5s. So much like lying about my name being Gunther, the top 10's kind of a misnomer as well. Now, with all that being said, first up, our number 5, Bronbreaker. No one has got this popular, this talented, this seasoned as quick as Bronbreaker. Just so, to put this into perspective, 1 year ago today, Bronbreaker hadn't even became a wrestler yet. That's how crazy that is. In less than a year, he went from being signed to being the champion of NXT and arguably the face of NXT 2.0. Love it or not, he's the guy that's the obvious star coming out of it. I mean, obviously, he's got the lineage with him. He's got the talent. He's got the athletic ability. To me, I think you slap the rocket ship on him, you slap the jetpack on him. The sooner we can get him onto the main roster and in front of main roster fans, the sooner we can make him the new face of the next generation of WWE. You know, at some point, I mean, Roman Reigns has been there a decade now. At some point, you have to move on to the next person. And it's very obvious right now that Bronbreaker is if he's not that guy, he's going to be one on the very short list to be that guy. Now, next up, also coming from NXT, a woman that probably should have been pulled up a long time ago. And that's Raquel Gonzalez. I think she's awesome. I've seen her first when she very first started in NXT. And I've seen the growth in her and her talent and the intangibles she has, the size, the look. She just, to me, she's something that kind of would work in any organization at any time period. You could put her in a women's division anywhere in the history of wrestling for any company, and she would work. She kind of has that. And I don't mean this in a bad way at all, like a Psycho Sid, a Diesel kind of feel to her when you put her in the ring with the other women, where she is talented. She's very talented. Don't take that as me saying she's not. But she also has that I'm a bully kind of vibe just looking at her. So to me, I think this would be a perfect way to get her from NXT and onto the main roster by debuting her in the Royal Rumble. Now, number 4, Tommaso Ciampa. Much like I just said with Raquel, Tommaso, easily one of the top wrestlers in the whole world. One of the guys that can carry a story better than almost anybody. He has a way to connect with the crowd that very few wrestlers ever have. Whether it is as a heel or a babyface, he works in any role. I think it's time that Ciampa gets that opportunity to show what he can do on the biggest stage. I know he's a little bit older, and I know he's had some injuries, so he's not necessarily going to be someone that they look to become the face of the company. But I think with as stale as Monday Night Raw has been, as bad as it's been, and it's been bad. And with SmackDown's a little bit better. SmackDown's the better of the two shows right now. It's actually watchable. But I think Ciampa could add to Monday Night Raw. If you put him in Monday Night Raw, I think he would be something that would improve the product. And he would make it a place that you'd want to see. He'd be someone you'd want to tune in to watch. So for that reason, and the fact that I'd just love to see him get a chance at the biggest stage, I think he should be in the Royal Rumble and then brought up to the main roster. And there's been rumors of that. I know he's worked some main event matches. They had him dye his beard. I understand. I know that there's been rumors. So a lot of this, there's some speculation with some of these people. So take with a grain of salt. I'm not saying that I created this in my head. Some of it, there's already been speculation that some of these people will be on in the Rumble anyway. Now, our number 4. In the Women's Rumble, it seems to be a little bit, they lean heavy towards nostalgia and legendary women being in there. And this is one they haven't brought back yet, and that is Jazz. I know she did her retirement thing, but I don't think it would really be hard to convince Jazz to come in for a one-time appearance in the Royal Rumble. I think she'd be willing to do it. I think it would be a nice way to pay respect to someone that they don't normally go out and pay respect to. She's not normally on the list of legends that they bring in. She's not a Bella. She's not a Beth Phoenix or Summer Rae or even, other wrestlers that they brought in this position. To me, I think it's well overdue to give Jazz her due and possibly have her start here and then put her in the Hall of Fame when it comes WrestleMania time. That's just my opinion. I think she's deserving of it, and this would be an awesome way to start that build. Now, coming off of Jazz, another absolute legend that hasn't been around that much recently, and that's our number 3 on the men's side, Ron Simmons, a.k.a. Farouk. And this might be, I don't know how Farouk is health-wise, I don't know if he could do it, but to me, he's another guy that doesn't quite get the respect that he deserves for the legend that he actually is. I would love to see them have Ron in, even if it's only for a 5 minutes where he just comes in, says damn, gets eliminated, gets that nice little pop that he deserves. It's one of those things that if I could see Ron Simmons, I want to see Ron Simmons. And I think he'd be a great addition as a surprise / legend on the men's side. I think it would be something that fans would love to see. Now, coming off of that, our number 3, there's probably some of you that don't even know who this person is. But it's been rumored that she's on the radar for WWE. She was trained by Booker T. Most recently, she was just the Ring of Honor World Champion and just lost the belt to Deonna Purrazzo on Impact. And with them opening the forbidden door to let Mickie James in, and the rumors that they're interested in her as well, I think Roxy would be a perfect addition here. Yes, she's not going to get the fanfare that a lot of these wrestlers do. Yes, she's going to be someone that a lot of the crowd does not know who she is. But this is a way to bring her into the company, debut her, maybe make her the 4th or 5th entrant where you already got some people in there that people know. Give her a couple eliminations, make her look good, and then you can bring her into your company and again bolster the women's division. I think, again, like Raquel Gonzalez, Roxy is someone unlimited potential because I believe she's only 23. So her best days of her career are still ahead of her, and she's already talented enough that she's in main events with Deonna Purrazzo, that she's winning the Ring of Honor Women's Championship. I mean, to me, that speaks volumes on how far along she is already. I think she would be a great addition to any women's division in the world again. And I think this role here and bringing her into the company would be a nice way to introduce her, to build a new potential star for the future. And it's just a person I'm a fan of, so obviously I would love to see her in there. Now our number 2, On the men's side, another nostalgia pick, and that's X-Pac. Recently, X-Pac has said that he's been medically cleared, that he's in shape, and he wants to do maybe just one more run. What a perfect way to do it. Bring him in the Royal Rumble. You could even bring him in like they did with Nash when they brought him back as Diesel the 1 year. You can bring him back as a 1-2-3 kid. I don't think he would be against that. I think he'd actually welcome that. I think a lot of people look at the 1-2-3 kid years as, kind of the bad years of WWE, but he was one of the stalwarts and one of the highlights during that time frame. Kind of like when you look at now and you look at guys like AJ Styles or Roman Reigns, and they're the guys that carry us through an era that's not necessarily the greatest. X-Pac was one of those guys, and he's one of those wrestlers that's very important but isn't talked about as being as important as he is, whether it be his lightweight style that him and Jerry Lynn kind of made an American thing, or him being part of the NWO, or him versus Razor Ramon really showing us how unpredictable Monday Night Raw could be, or jumping to D-Generation X. He made a severe impact multiple times on the wrestling business, and I think it's about time we give Sean some of that shine just for himself. And I'd love to see him there as either X-Pac or 1-2-3 Kid, or hell, if he even wants to be just Sean Waltman, that would be okay too. Now, coming off of that, our number 2 on the women's side, I don't know how close she is to a return. I don't know how she is medically. This is just coming purely from a fan of hers standpoint, and that is Bayley. I think it would be perfect to bring her in. I think this is a year, before we get too much further into this, let's finally do at WrestleMania the 4 horsewomen 4-way. Let's do Becky versus Charlotte versus Bayley versus Sasha before one of them leaves the company, because I think inevitably one of these 4 is going to leave the company. We've seen there's been times where Sasha hasn't been happy. One of them, their contract's going to come up, and a company like AEW or Impact is going to offer them more money, and they're going to look at that and they may take it. So I think while we still can, while the 4 of them are still towards the top of their card, let's start that. And the best way to start that is having Bayley be in the Royal Rumble, maybe eliminate one of the other horsewomen, even possibly win it, and set up that fatal 4-way at WrestleMania that I think fans would all be excited to see. And that's what WWE's been missing a lot, is giving the fans matches that they're really excited to see. And that would be one of them, in my opinion. Now, before we get into our number 1, if you've seen our shows before, if you've seen our top 10s, you know we do a little thing called the best of the rest. Basically, stuff that did not make the list but was considered for it. For this, we have 2 things that are on there, 2, one from each side. The first one for the men's side, we talked about it a little bit ago with Roxy. If they're open to people from other companies coming in, I think Rhino would be a perfect fit. He's the kind of guy that you can put in the Royal Rumble. He'll get a decent pop. The fans will love him. He doesn't need to win it. He doesn't need to have a strong showing. No matter what he does in the Royal Rumble, it's not going to hurt his status in Impact Wrestling. And I think he's a guy that, again, fans are going to look at. He was only there a couple of years ago, so fans remember him. Even the newest of new fans have some remembrance of him. The ECW fans remember him. Impact fans will love seeing him there. To me, it's a win-win to put Rhino in the Royal Rumble. There's no downside, in my opinion. Now, also, another Forbidden Door one, and it's probably a person, and this is why she didn't exactly make the actual list. It's a person I don't think that'll actually go there, and that's Gail Kim. Gail Kim had a couple runs in WWE, and she was not happy in either time. But again, much like Jazz, I think it's time we start paying respect to Gail Kim. And I know she's mentioned as one of the top wrestlers of the last 20 years and one of the top women's wrestlers for sure of the last 20 years. But I think WWE does not give enough respect to her, and I think she needs to have that respect, even though that most of her success is outside of WWE. I think they need to shine a light on Gail Kim as one of the real highlights of women's wrestling, one of the people that brought on the women's revolution. She was doing main event women's matches while WWE was still putting on 2-minute women matches on their shows and thinking that was good enough. She is one of the catalysts to the women's revolution that people bring up so much, that the fans brought in. Seeing girls like her and Awesome Kong do what they did in Impact made WWE and what they were doing with their women's division look antiquated. So I think this would be a perfect place for her. Now, coming off of that, before we get to our number ones, if you think I've left someone off the list, someone you'd like to see, put someone down too low, someone up too high, let me know down here in the comments. Make sure you hit like and share. Let's get this shared all over the place. I would definitely appreciate that. Now, our number ones, first on the men's side, the Olympic gold medal hero, Kurt Angle. Much like with Ron Simmons, I'm not sure what Kurt Angle's health status is, but I gotta believe that someone like Kurt Angle has one more match in him, has one more big pop he could get out of him. I don't know that he was happy with the way that he left, losing to Baron Corbin. I know, the time-honored thing is to try and make somebody new, but let's give Kurt Angle another spotlight. Let's give him a proper send-off, give him a good run in the Royal Rumble. Hell, if you even want to use the Royal Rumble to build a match with him at WrestleMania, I wouldn't be against that. I'd love to see him wrestle again, at least in the Rumble and possibly WrestleMania. You could build a storyline from there. I think it would be awesome. I think Kurt possibly getting a decent run in the Rumble and maybe a win at WrestleMania as his actual retirement match, I think would be a great send-off for a guy that, again, is one of the best wrestlers of the last 20-plus years. I think it would be perfect for him. And finally, our number one on the women's side, a person that's recently said that they believe that they could come back and do at least one more match, and that is Paige. We talked about Gail Kim and how she was a spark that started the women's revolution. I think Paige was another person that poured gasoline on that fire. Paige was someone that the fans wanted to see and wanted to see a lot more of than what they were being given. And I think that her NXT run, her WWE run, with the neck injury, it felt incomplete. It would be amazing to see Paige come back, and again, much like I said with Kurt Angle, go out on her own, go out in a positive way, not go out to an injury. Even if it's just for the Royal Rumble appearance, Paige gets to get sent off the way that she should, as an absolute legend, as someone that's going to be looked at much like Magnum TA, as a what could have been and how big could she have possibly been. And I think Paige, to me, Paige would have been the Roman Reigns of the women's division. I think she's just that good. I think she's that talented. She's that good of a speaker. Everything about her is absolutely top star material, in my opinion. And I think this would be perfect for her. And I think this would be an awesome way to give her the respect she deserves and give her fans like myself another chance to see Paige and see Paige go out in a way that she would want to. With all that being said, this has been my top fives. 2 top fives equals a top 10. Again, let me know what you think down here. If you've watched this all the way to this point, I know you're a fan. Let me know you're watching. If you're watching it this long, let's say, put an entrant and then who you'd like to see entered. So in other words, someone outside of this list, so let's say if you want to put entrant Magnum TA, go for it. If you want to put entrant Kenny Omega, go for it. It doesn't have to make sense. Just let me know you've watched this long. Put entrant and a person that you'd love to see in the Royal Rumble. With all that being said, my name is George Coles, and this has been another Heel Heat Top 10.